Well, there it is. Hey everyone, this is Witty and welcome to a Starcraft 2 commentary. Now I've been doing fun play FP FODs for a while where you see me try out some crazy strats and that, but since I'm starting to get to mid-diamond and onwards, it's getting a lot more harder to try and get away with that. In fact, it's getting rather stressful, the amount of times I have to try and win with that sort of stuff. So unless I had like a spare account or something, I'll probably continue doing those, but for the time being I'm going to go back and go back to commentaries. Like I might do some high level games of other obviously better players than me, and if I have a good game myself I might be showing it to you, which is what I might be doing here. Let's introduce everyone, shall we? Of course we've got myself playing as the red Zerg at the top right on Blistering Sands, and at the bottom left we have AlexDeLarge. Now this is a 2043 Terran player. I'm currently sitting at 1626 points. The system seems to think I'm a god for some reason. I think a lot of you have already been through this as well, not just me obviously, but where the system doesn't seem to like giving you people that are 100 points better than you. It's sort of like, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to give you someone that's 150 points higher than you. No, 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 no. It will give you like people that are 300 400 points higher than you and expect you to win. Obviously I understand why it's doing it, but it seems like a bit of a steep number. But of course it's also due to the fact that it's trying to find players. I mean, this was played in the morning. I've only just played this game, and this is my first game of the day, so I probably have made quite a few mistakes, and I'm not used to playing against such high level Terrans at this point. So yeah, there's a lot I've learned from this game as well, and I'll be trying to cover that in this game so you guys can benefit from it as well, because I by no means play perfect, and I'll try and cover whatever he did wrong, because I'm sure he probably did make mistakes, but of course I couldn't see what he was doing during the game, so apart from when we had our fights, so I can only really commentate on that from my knowledge, but we can also visit upon what was going on macro wise for him during this game. Now what I've gone for here is a 16 hatch, and then after you build your 16 hatch you get yourself your spawning pool and then your extractor, and then continue with drones. You get to yourself to about 17 or so food, get yourself a queen, well actually no, you get yourself an overlord, and if your spawning pool does come up, which you shouldn't do because you got yourself a 16 hatch. Oh yeah, actually let me cover this bit. It's so important if you get a fast expansion that you leave an overlord over here so you can see anything that is building, because you look at my view currently I can only see this. If a bunker is being put here I can't see it. Now you see this SCV, I want to get rid of it because I don't want him going back down there and building a bunker. Now that's the reason, because I wanted to get an overlord over to this side to make sure that I knew when he was going to expand. Now by doing that I risked the fact that I could not see anything building by my expansion. So after a while, after a short while, you have to sort of time it. I've just lost my drone here as he got trapped in, but he was just being a bit of a pest, trying to stop the marine from coming over in case he wanted to try and go overlord hunting, but he shouldn't find anything because one overlord's here and one overlord's there. But what I was saying, I believe if I can remember now, is going back to it, is that most people should leave an overlord over here so you can see something building, but I didn't. So what I did is every now and then you'll casually take a drone from your main mineral line and just attack move down here, just to make sure that you come across anything like a probe or an SCV or even a drone building a spine crawler, which you shouldn't possibly be doing. I just thought I'd fit that one in there, but just scrap that, to be honest. That just wouldn't happen. So yeah, anyway, it's just to basically deal with any pesky SCVs, because if they get that bunker up that will make my life a living hell. So straight away this queen's gonna spawn lava, and this queen is going to be spreading creep tumors with the first 25 energy. The reason why is because I know that Hellions are on their way and I want to get as much creep ground as possible. I don't want to have to deal with these Hellions being able to run in and out of my base quite comfortably. I want them to feel really, really wary of the creep surroundings and the fact that the Zerglings are going to be super fast on that creep. Now I get a bit lucky here because what I believe is he was probably doing some macro at this time, so that's really nice to get that first Hellion down. And that's also the problem, is if you don't build both your Hellions at the same time. He basically built them as efficiently as he could. Usually people like myself will have a bit of OCD and try and build everything in sequence. You know, you sort of wait until you've got exactly 400 minerals and then build 4 Hellions in a row sort of thing. And I've managed to get the surround on this guy. He's getting a little bit slack with his Hellions, so this has bought me a lot of easy early game time. which is exactly what I wanted. One mistake I definitely made is I wanted to do a lair, but for some reason I built a second queen. I did not want that second queen. It's not a bad thing, but I certainly didn't want it, so now I'm just going to have to spread creature tumors with it, basically. Meanwhile, what the idea of the Terran is in most of their games is they will be trying to do a lot of Hellion harass, and whilst they're pulling this off, they'll be expanding. So they're basically keeping you on the defensive whilst they can get their expansion up. But I've got myself quite a few Zerglings with speed now, and I want to just basically look around. Now, this is what catches me out, without doubt. If I was just a little bit quicker, I would have spotted that medevac. Now, like I say, first game of the day and all that, but looking at this, oh, just missed that burrow, never mind. I'm calling it a burrow, it's not a burrow, it's a supply depot, Warcraft 3. Anyway, I want to keep my Zerglings up here, they're not too much, they're just cannon fodder, see if I can luckily get through this. I do get a bit reckless like that, but one thing, I'm just going to pause the game just for a moment. Let's go back over to this medevac here. Now, what did I do wrong? Ladies and gentlemen, most Terrans will skirt around the outside. Now, what you need is if you've got an Overlord or 2 spare, which I have 3 spare, instead of putting them into your typical rally point, if you've got the extra APM, this is a lot of extra effort, but if you've got it, then use it. I should have had an Overlord here, and perhaps an Overlord sitting here. And the same goes for about here. 1 here, and 1 down about here. That way I can always cover if a medevac decides to go around the Cell Naga towers. Now we're going to see how much this hurts me, basically, due to my own mistake. So we look at the income tab now. Let's have a quick look at the APM. Yeah, it's alright. So we've got myself on 27 harvesters each. Now we're going to see how much damage these Hellions do. Luckily I've got 2 queens in here, so they're going to be doing some fairly good DPS. First I wanted to attack, then I'm trying to get my drones out of the way, making it a bit more difficult for the Hellions, but they've got really nowhere to go. I've got no army whatsoever. My Zerglings have just died at his main, so I've got really nothing to defend against this. Now meanwhile, I've actually noticed you've got 29 harvesters, but you can see drones are dying. Ah, we've just gone massively down to 20 there. You saw that 29 dropped down to 20. Now we're down to 22. Wow, that definitely did quite a bit of damage. I would say the 4 Hellions paid off for themselves, but of course there was the tech tree in that as well, the starport, which was the delay and all of that sort of extra cost to kill that much. So he could have probably killed a bit more for his worth. So I think the best thing to do against Hellions, as I'm really thinking this, is just to leave your drones on minerals. I mean, that way you're going to get as much minerals as you can possibly get. Unfortunately, Overlord here, I did a scout just to make sure anything's funny is going on, if I could see. Don't think I'm going to see that tech lab. Oh no, I did. That was very fortunate. And obviously that Overlord's going to die. But going back to my base, now explaining this whole issue, it's just, if you leave your drones mining, the Hellions can't get a line of fire on them very comfortably, because you see they actually naturally spread out when they're mining. But when you try to panic and move them off the line, they suddenly go in one great big single line formation, which makes it super easy for the Hellions to just basically, you know, 2-3 shot them all. And if you try to attack them, it's alright until the Hellions sort of get into like a little choke point, and then suddenly all your drones suddenly form into like one massive drone, if you know what I mean. They all bundle together, and then again they become massively AoE-able. Area of effect, for those that don't know. And here comes the medevac again, just as my queens are going down. What good timing, eh? I didn't read that one at all, because I've obviously spread the creep tumors a bit, so I'm panicking quite a bit in this game, to be honest with you. The queens are still going down, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say screw it. All these drones can go down here, because I'm not quite fully saturated on these minerals, so I can still get good mineral income if I have to send them down. Meanwhile, my enemy, by doing this Hellion harass, it's not only slowing me down massively economy, he's actually really messing around with my harvesters, because he can get himself 33 harvesters at this point. Now he's only got 33 harvesters on one base. Now this medevac is so hard to kill. Thankfully they slowed down the speed, so it's quite slow now, which is great, to be honest. Now all this time you think, what have I been doing? Look at my you know, minerals. It's actually quite low. He's got a lot, so if we look at his macro wise, he's slick. Because of all this harass he's doing, we just pause it again for a moment. Due to all this harass he's obviously doing, he's really suffering a lot, because it's pretty hard to macro with Terran, I find, if you're having to focus so heavily on Hellions that stop move micro and stuff like that, and make sure they don't get trapped or anything like that. So he certainly needs to work a bit on his macro, because he's got a lot of resources there that he could have built plenty of units and then came and attacked me and probably won the game right there. But meanwhile, you'll see that I've got my mutas now. Desperately wanted mutas because that's what I was going for earlier. I actually got myself an extractor quite early, second one. I wanted to go straight to mutas, but because of all the harass, I couldn't get to mutas as quickly as I wanted to because I didn't have the drones and the minerals to actually carry it off. For once, I actually had way more gas than I had minerals. Anyway, this medevac is going to see its last days because these mutas, I'm not going to let it leave alive. Now, he's well aware. For some reason, although I don't think he knew about the mutas, I don't think he did actually, I just think he was going back in there for another drop. So I don't think there's anything suspicious about that, to be honest. Now the mutas are going to have to go straight to the enemy base and see if they can do anything. There's a lot of drones down here. I need to really bring them back up. I hope I do that at some point soon. Otherwise, there we go. Yeah, otherwise I'm not going to be getting that much more minerals from it because you only need about 20 or so, 22 drones to fully saturate it. But you know, you can still get good income from one mineral lot of patches, which is 16 drones. So anyway, we're going back to his base. We're seeing lots of marines. They got the stim pack. Got missile turrets in his base, so it's not really much I can harass with these mutas, so this is pretty unfortunate. The mutas have gone quite late into this game. They're 13 minutes into it, so there's time for the missile turrets and enough marines with stim pack to be able to defend against this. Just going to try and be a pest. He doesn't want to quite take on these mutas yet, although I think he probably can, especially since he's got the stim pack and the medevac there. But I think he's just basically taking it as long as he likes before he can get up a comfortable army to fight it, because he's not going to lose much apart from the tech lab. He can bring that back and repair it if he's able to. He might forget about it, I don't know if he did. But meanwhile, I'm just trying to be a pest with these mutas. I'm going to have to come around here. And we can see that his expansion's now got 3 mules on it, and they're comfortably mining away. So we go back to my base. What am I doing? I'm just going pretty heavy on the drones by the looks of it. Income-wise, he's still ahead of me on harvesters, and you do not want to be behind a Terran. You want to be like one base ahead of a Terran or a Protoss player at all times as Zerg. You can't afford to be behind them, trust me. Now I'm trying my best to spread creep, but this gets a little bit of slack later in the game because it's starting to hit that mid-game point where there's so much to do, and it's pretty hard to keep control of all of this. Now I've got myself a Baneling nest because obviously I'm noticing all the marines, the mass marines coming out with the medevacs. It's pretty obvious that he's going to be going quite heavy on that. And I saw the factories, and I was personally thinking forwards because I had mutalisks. But it looks like he's actually going to be going for the siege tech line, so I'm going to need the Banelings at least for the marines, and I'm not sure what I'll do against the tanks. I guess the mutas can be my anti-tank for the time being. I'm doing pretty okay now. I'm starting to catch up a bit. 42 harvesters for his 47. I'm trying to get myself this third expansion now. What I should have been doing is just right at the start of the game, just send a couple of Zerglings, killing these destructible rocks at least, right near the start of the game, just because this has to be, pausing it again for a moment, this has to be your third expansion as Zerg. You will find out why I'm saying that in a moment. I'm not going to spoil anything, but yeah. Anyway, let's go back to it. We can see medevacs, marines, hellions, so it's basically quite a nightmare for to fight against as a Zerg player, because the marines are going to comfortably take care of the mutalisks, and the hellions will comfortably take care of anything on the ground, such as light units that Zerg have. So yeah, all these Zerglings and Banelings are going to be in a bit of trouble. Stimpaks can outrun Banelings. I'm not sure they can outrun them on creep. I think they go about the same speed as Banelings when they're on creep and they're stims, so it's pretty ridiculously fast. Meanwhile, we can see a couple of siege tanks here just trying to hold the fort. 54 harvesters for each player. If we go to production tab, we can see a Raven is being built. Upgrade for the Terran infantry. Lots of upgrades for the Terran infantry. Caduceus reactor. I think that's something for the medevac, isn't it? Oh no, what the hell is that? Oh, I guess that's just armor. Yeah, lots of armor upgrades going on over here. So all my creep tumors are getting pretty much killed. I tried to spread them, but they die. If the original one that you're using to spread with before it dies, then yeah, it ain't going anywhere. So yeah, he's just being a pest really, because it's quite hard work to keep spreading all these creep tumors. So I bought a couple of Queen's Eggs, I had tons of spare energy just to, you know, whack a whole ton of them down there. At some point I'm going to start spreading those. Now my drones are starting to move over here because I need to start saturating more mineral lines, because like I say, you can't really be two base against a two base Terran. You've always got to be one base ahead of your enemy if you're Zerg. So yeah, we can see the Zerglings are coming in here, the mutas are here, siege tanks are not yet sieged up, Banelings are on their way. Can Banelings get into those siege tanks? Oh no! Oh god, this is so horrible. This is what's such a nightmare. Marines stimming up outrunning the banelings so that the siege tanks can then comfortably take care of the banelings. The only saving grace from this is that I get the siege tanks and then I can get out.